Next on In-Depth Saturday, a Port Clinton man who went viral after transforming his yard into a massive Trump 2020 sign is running for office, who he plans to take on, and policies he plans to implement next. Plus, as America vaccinates, Brazil is in the midst of a worsening COVID-19 crisis. Good morning, my name is Jaden Jefferson, and thank you so much for joining me for this first edition of In-Depth Saturday. A Port Clinton man and Toledo native has announced he intends to challenge Representative Marcy Kaptur of District 9 in 2023 when Kaptur is up for re-election. J.R. Majewski went viral in July of 2020 after transforming his yard into a massive Trump 2020 flag display utilizing over 19 gallons of paint to get it done. I spoke with Majewski regarding his run for office and policies he plans to enact.
Without opposition, I don't think politics would be true to form. And I think it's healthy for both Marcy and I to have a healthy debate and run in a healthy competition for the seat.
You mentioned on your campaign website that your goal is to save America. Can you specify what you exactly mean by that?
Sure. I think it really boils down to President Trump's, Save America platform, right? Defending life, upholding Christian values. I believe in the Declaration of Independence. I believe that we're all created equal and we must be treated equal. I believe in smaller government, the right to religious liberty. I believe in national defense and national sovereignty and fair trade, lower taxes, better jobs, better economy, law and order, free speech, fair elections. That's essentially the Save America platform in a nutshell.
Do you think that health officials and different agencies should have additional authority when it comes to issuing orders with regard to health, including the pandemic?
Well, I think that it's a fine line that you walk, with the health department making orders. They're not legislators. I think that the system was built for them to advise the legislators, and for the legislators to then pass or consider the law. And that for leaders, elected leaders, to actually enforce and subscribe to them. So it's a fine balance. But I think that the state legislator here in Ohio is doing a good job. I think this is a once in a generation pandemic, hopefully, and I think they're doing the best that they can. And I think that science is proving, at every step of the way that we're being successful in how we're dealing with the pandemic. I can't weigh in as much because I'm not a person that if I don't know the answer or if I don't know the legalities, I don't want to pretend that I do. I would definitely look into that, and I would definitely try to make the best, and I would support, the best solution to whatever situation, problem, or crisis that arises.
What happened in July 2020 and throughout the summer of 2020, there were a lot of unrest with regard to police brutality, criminal justice system reform. Where do you stand on that issue when it comes to reforms?
I think that what happened in July with George Floyd was a terrible tragedy. And, I know that there was a lot of civil unrest. There was a lot of discourse on both sides. And I think that discourse is healthy. I think that's what we're missing in our society today, is that when we have issues and we have challenges, we as parties are taking hard party lines and we're not willing to engage one another in an intellectual debate. And we're missing out on that. And so I won't say that I'm familiar as much as I should be with the George Floyd bill or the George Floyd Act. That's not to say that I won't be, but given my the fact that I'm still a leader in the nuclear industry, I'm very, very heavily involved professionally. And, with my campaign just starting out and just building my platform at this point, there's a lot for me to learn. And, I believe in the rule of law. I believe that our justice system should be fair and balanced. And if there are any discriminatory rules, regulations, policies, or procedures, they need to be eliminated immediately.
With regard to infrastructure, President Biden has proposed a over $1 trillion plan to upgrade physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, etc., and also day-to-day infrastructure, so internet access and things of that nature. Do you believe that plan could be beneficial to Toledoans, especially since the pandemic has demonstrated that a lack of internet access for students that are learning remotely is not adequate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that anything that looks to improve infrastructure, is beneficial to Toledo. I think Toledo suffers dearly. I just went into Toledo last week to visit my grandfather who lives, in the LaGrange Street area, and those roads are terrible. I filmed my old home, making my, I made my first campaign video, and I made it all by myself. And walking through the streets and walking through the alleys there where I grew up as a kid, those areas are not, maintained the way they were when I was younger. And I definitely think that a bill to support infrastructure is beneficial to Toledo. But what I think there is issue in national debate on right now is the what is inside the bill. Are these bills are they accurate? Are they is the title of the bill an accurate depiction of what's actually in it, or is it a culmination of special interests? And that's one of the things that I think we're hearing right now is there's a conscious debate over that. But hey, I'm all about helping the people. I'm all about improving the infrastructure. And unfortunately, my wife and I can't have children, but I'm the best darn uncle in the world. And I help my nieces and nephews all the time with schooling, with tutoring, any questions they have. I have a master's degree, so it doesn't make me smarter than anybody, but it just means that I've been to school a lot longer, and I graduated with honors. So they call me all the time, Uncle J.R., can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I see them and their parents specifically both working from home and drawing data from their internet service provider, and then having 2 kids in 2 separate rooms. That's 4 computers, and that's 4 polls on their data plan, and it's not easy. And so if we as a society and as a government, if we can develop a fair, balanced way to equitably help everyone, I'm all for it.
Now, for more on Majewski's campaign and to view our extended interview, visit my YouTube page. There is reason to be optimistic with regard to a return to normalcy here in the U.S., but as the vaccine rollout continues, many in Brazil are being forced to say their goodbyes to loved ones with a recent rise in virus cases and deaths, resulting in overwhelmed hospitals and people battling the virus forced to live out their final days at home and alone. I spoke to journalist João Praetzel to discuss the crisis on the ground.
Have you talked to any families that have lost people to COVID-19, and what have they told you?
Yeah, I have it's not a friend, but a guy who is next to me, close to me, and he lost his mom 2 weeks ago, and it's of course it's a bad situation, a bad feeling. But he said to me, he posted in his Instagram that the situation in the hospital, his mom had passed a good time in the hospital, and high points, low points. But what he said to me is, the government puts a bad thing in our society, and this thing puts a pressure in doctors, put a pressure in people, and the thing is, he of course feels bad, not feel good, but it's a big loss for he and for his family, and it's a thing that never he will have another mom. And the situation is very bad here in Brazil, Jaden. And the number is increasing, not decreasing, and that's that's our preoccupation, not only the like journalists, but the doctors in the hospitals, because if in United States, Europe, the numbers are decreasing because the government make actions, put the people in lockdown, close the schools, close the supermarkets. Here in Brazil, our president, I know you know our president, he didn't make any action. Yeah, last year, in the start of January, in the start of this year, we bought some vaccines like Coronavac and the Oxford vaccine, but it's not enough. It's not enough, and the Pfizer vaccine that I think in the United States you use, Pfizer put some vaccines to our government. 70 millions of vaccines, and our president reject this offer. It's very complicated for me that don't have the vaccine. I have COVID. I had COVID in the last year. I passed 14 days with a very strong headache. I feel very tired, but I have 25 years old, and I'm feeling good now, 3 months after this. But I know people who have the capacity of lungs decreased 75%, or people who stay months and months in the hospitals, and it's a difficult situation for me, a young, and much more difficult to old people. My grandparents, my grandpa and my grandma already vaccinated, and it's good for them. But for me, for you, I don't know if you already vaccinated, but here in Brazil, we don't have in our mind, I don't have in my mind vaccinating this year, only in 2022. And I think the situation in Brazil will be a little bit better in the start of the last year. If you don't understand something that I'm said, please question again, and I repeat. I try to show better the words. I would like to ask for you, for your spectators, to pray for Brazil, because how I said, our situation is not good. Our situation can be worse in the next days. I think. Let me look here. We have here in my state 20,000 deaths, and my state has 1 million of population. Is not common. Is not good. Is not common for any family loss so many people in the same year. We have a soccer player here in Brazil, here in Grêmio. He lost in the last week his dad and his grandpa. The coronavirus is devastating our families, not only in Brazil, not only in the United States, not only in Europe. but Brazil has been seen like the worst country to live in the world. Our borderlines with Bolivia, with Chile, with Argentina, with Uruguay, all of them are closed. If I want to visit you in the United States, I can't. If I want to visit, to travel to Europe, I can't. Not because I don't have the visa, but because the Brazil is the country with the most number of deaths of coronavirus in the last week. Only yesterday, we can vaccinate 1 million of people. Only yesterday. And Brazil started to vaccinate in the 25 January.